vast territories and having widespread influence. But now they are nameless on the world map. In the video about which country lost the most territory, just 5 minutes brought up some of the most prominent names like the British Empire and the Mongol Empire. But there are also many forces swept away by the vortex of history, including some nations in Southeast Asia. Next video, left. Georgia. In the midst of the treacherous Caucasus Mountains, the Georgians had early formed kingdoms, but for thousands of years, no one could unify them all. Among them, Tao Klarjeti was the most powerful force. During the time of Peter III, this country annexed Klarjeti in 976, initiating the unification. Subsequently, Abkhazia was also invaded, leading to the formation of the Kingdom of Georgia in 1008. By the time of Peter IV, the territory continued to expand, stretching from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. And the capital was moved from Kutaisi to Tbilisi because it was closer to the central location, making it more convenient for trade. When Queen Taylor the Great ascended the throne, the Kingdom of Georgia continued to develop, reaching an area of 380,000 square kilometers by the early 13th century. It became the commercial hub of the entire region, shining with unique church architecture and flourishing literature and arts. But then the Golden Age passed, as the warriors of the Mongol Empire and historical upheavals swept away its glory. Nevertheless, the image of the Kingdom of Georgia during its Golden Age has been regarded by its people as a symbol of pride and identity and the aspiration for national independence for many centuries thereafter. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Georgia regained independence but quickly fell into political chaos and ethnic conflicts when the regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia seceded, leaving scars that never healed. Today, nominally, Georgia currently possesses an area of 70,000 square kilometers, which is a decrease of 81.58% compared to its peak. It is home to approximately 3,700,000 people, with a GDP of $33.78 billion and a per capita figure of 9,130. In the heart of the vast Pacific Ocean lies a small island called Tongatapu, but in the past, it was the center of a powerful force. From 950 AD, it expanded rapidly, becoming the Tui Tonga Empire and reaching its maximum territory by 1200 AD. Although the land area was relatively small, only about 4,500 square kilometers, they controlled millions. The success of the empire largely relied on its naval forces, with the most common vessels being double-hulled long-distance canoes equipped with triangular sail. The largest canoes of the Kalia type could carry up to 100. Along with that was the use of spiritual and religious symbols, where kings were considered sacred, connecting humans with the gods. Massive monuments like Langi, coral stone tombs, still exist to this day, testifying to their superior organization and technology. For many centuries, the name Tui Tonga became a terror of Pacific inhabitants. For example, on Wallis Island, despite being 880 kilometers away from Tongatapu, it was strongly influenced linguistically but by the 13th century, due to frequent wars and internal conflicts, the empire gradually shrank, with the remaining area being 748 square kilometers, meaning a loss of 83.38%. Nevertheless, Tonga remains a powerful force in the Pacific. They also early contacted Westerners and gradually converted to Christianity. To avoid being annexed, in 1875, King Tafaha declared Tonga a constitutional monarchy, officially adopting Western governance styles, freeing serfs, establishing laws, land ownership systems, press freedom, and limiting the power of chiefs. Subsequently, the kingdom became a British protectorate in Asia. Currently, Tonga faces many problems, especially climate change and natural disasters such as storms, volcanoes, and tsunamis. It is home to about 100,000 people. GDP reaches $540 million, with a per capita figure of 5. The Turks began migrating into Anatolia from the 11th century. They established many small kingdoms called beylik. Among them the Ottoman founded by Osman, from a relatively modest force, but with the strategic prowess of its sultans. It quickly rose to become one of the world's most powerful empires, with territories spanning 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe. By 1683, the Ottoman Empire controlled an area of up to 5,200,000. This empire was not only notable for its elite Janissary army but also as a center of commerce, art, and religion. Magnificent architectural works like the Suleimaniye Mosque or Topkapi Palace are testaments to a mighty civilization. For many centuries, the Ottomans controlled vital trade routes, acting as the gatekeepers between East and West. Sick man of Europe. By the early 20th century, the once mighty Ottoman Empire was breathing its last breaths, ultimately collapsing after World War I. Today, on the land that was once the center of the Ottoman Empire, modern Turkey nurtures a great ambition to restore its former glory. Under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Ankara is increasingly showing more decisiveness. The country is deepening its involvement in hotspots like Syria, Libya, and the conflict in Karabakh, as well as strengthening its presence in the Middle East, North Africa. All of these are regions that once belonged to the. However, beneath that geopolitical ambition lie severe economic challenges, with the lira continuously depreciating, high inflation, and the people's livelihoods facing many. Today, Turkey has an area of 783,562 square kilometers, which is a decrease of 84.93% from the peak of the Ottoman era. The country has a population of 85,520,000 people and a GDP of $1.320 trillion, with a per capita figure of 50. Cambodia. Once upon a time, in the Southeast Asian region, a great civilization emerged that made the whole world admire, which was the Khmer Empire, with its center at Angkor. At its peak in 1900, its territory reached 1,263,322 square. For centuries, under the support of powerful kings such as Jayawarman II and Suryavarman II, the Khmer people built a vast empire, stretching from present-day Cambodia to Thailand, Laos, southern Vietnam, and part of Myanmar. The heart of that empire was Angkor Wat, a massive religious structure, both a symbol of power and evidence of techniques and thinking ahead of its time. During its glorious period, the capital Angkor was one of the world's most populous cities, with a population that could reach 1 million people. The Khmer Empire was also a center of Hinduism and Buddhism, creating cultural and religious values that are still evident today. Therefore, although it later collapsed due to civil war, foreign invasion, and resource depletion, the glory of the Khmer Empire remains as proof that a legendary civilization once existed here, worthy of being called a wonder of humanity. But when looking at modern Cambodia, the picture is far from the glory of the past. After gaining independence in the mid-20th century, the country quickly fell into a cycle of war. Up to now, although Cambodia is at peace and on the path of development, the scars of the past are still deeply ingrained. Their economy heavily depends on tourism and garment manufacturing, making the country vulnerable to both widespread corruption, a large wealth gap, and weak education and healthcare systems also make life difficult for the people. Today, Cambodia covers 181,035 square kilometers, which is only 85.7% of the Khmer Empire's territory. The country has a population of 17,180,000 people and a GDP of 4. Thus, the per capita level of $2,755 is among the lowest in Asia. Germany. In the context of the 19th century, the Germans still did not have a unified country. Instead, there was a series of large and small states, with the two most powerful forces being Prussia of the Hohenzollern dynasty and ultimately, a purely German Prussia defeated a multi-ethnic Austria. From here, a new power emerged in Europe, which was the German Empire. With superior industrial strength, a steel-disciplined military, and they quickly rose to compete on par with Britain and France, expanding their influence globally by colonizing Africa and the Pacific. And in 1914, the territory of the German Empire reached 2,953,161 square kilometers. But the ambition for hegemony dragged this empire into devastating wars. World War I ended in heavy defeat, causing Germany not only to lose all its colonies but also to East Prussia separate. From the ashes, extreme nationalism rose, leading to the formation of the Nazi Third Reich in World War II. Once again, the Germans spread war, and once again, they paid the price with defeat. From a power that once made the world tremble, the country was divided into two, becoming an ideological battlefield in a Cold War. The story of the German Empire is not only an extraordinary journey of rise but also a bitter lesson about destruction when ambition exceeds limits. After decades of division, West Germany and East Germany were finally able to reunite in 1990. Overcoming initial difficulties, the unified country continued to prosper, holding the role of the largest economy in Europe and one of the key drivers of the EU. Today, Germany covers 357,022 square kilometers, which is 87.91% of its maximum territory. It has a population of 84,720,000 people, with a GDP of $4.660 trillion, ranking third in the world, behind only the US and China, and a per capita GDP of 55. Austria. In European history, the name Habsburg was less synonymous with power. From a small piece of land in Klegau for political marriages, it rose to become a mighty force. By the time of Rudolf I, the Habsburgs had expanded their influence and controlled various lands, with Austria becoming the power center of this family. Through many ups and downs, by the early 19th century, the Habsburgs established the Austrian Empire with a maximum area of 698,700 square kilometers, but ethnic and religious diversity became a hidden seed of division. The Hungarian Revolution in 1848 shook the foundation of the empire, and then the defeat by the Kingdom of Prussia in 1866 showed the weakness of the Habsburg family. Once again, the Hungarians struggled, but not through violence but through negotiation. Ultimately, Emperor Franz Joseph I had to accept concessions. Accordingly, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was established in 1867, consisting of Austria and Hungary coexisting side. This entity had a common monarch, implementing joint policies on diplomacy and defense, while in other matters, the two sides could pursue their own paths. Later, Austria-Hungary gained control of Bosnia and Herzegovina and formally annexed it in 1908. This action made the Balkan region increasingly tense. Ultimately, it led to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. Not long after, World War I broke out. The Austro-Hungarian Empire completely collapsed in 1918, ending centuries of power for the Habsburg family. Austria was then reduced and had an area of only 83,879 square kilometers, which is a decrease of 87.99% from its peak. But the darkness had not yet passed and everything became even worse. In 1938, Austria was annexed by Germany and then participated in World War II, the most brutal war in history. But from the ruins, Austria found a completely new path for itself and became a neutral nation in 1955. Thanks to this small country could focus all resources on economic development. Today, Austria has a population of 9,160,000 people, GDP reaching $521.27 billion, and per capita GDP up to $56,000. Uzbekistan. In the late 14th century, from the sandstorm-ridden land of Central Asia, a figure emerged and carved his name into history, Timur, also known as Tamerlane in English or Timur in Chinese. He came from the Barlas tribe, of Mongol origin but Turkicized and Muslim. Through a series of wars, Timur built the Timurid Empire, one of the most powerful empires in the world at that time. And by 1405, it reached an area of 4,400,000 square kilometers. But that glory came with notorious brutality. Historical records recount that Timur once left tens of thousands of heads piled into pyramids, spreading terror everywhere he went. Alongside bloodshed, this empire was also a cradle of culture and art, with Samarkand becoming a bustling center with exquisite Islamic architecture, massive libraries, and brilliant scholars. After Timur's death in 1405, the empire gradually weakened and could no longer maintain unity, eventually being replaced by other powers in the region. Particularly, Timur's era had a dual nature, reflecting both Mongol Turkic origins and strong Persian cultural influence, making it not simple to determine which ethnicity he belonged to. But since the empire's center was in Uzbekistan, This country is trying to affirm its identity by honoring Timur as a national hero. The grand statue of Timur stands in the capital Tashkent. His image appears on currency, and official history portrays him as the nation's founder rather than a brutal conqueror. Samarkand and Bukhara, cultural gems that flourished during the Timurid era, have now been restored as tourist destinations, attracting visitors from around the world. However, behind the glorious heritage facade, present-day Uzbekistan faces many internal challenges, including a political system characterized by power concentration. Corruption is rampant, while unemployment and poverty remain issues for a portion of the population. Currently, Uzbekistan covers 1,564,116 square kilometers, which is 89.8% less than the Timurid Empire, with a population of 36,930,000, among the most populous in Central Asia, while GDP reaches $114.96 billion and per capita is $3,113. South Korea. In Northeast Asian history, alongside giant China and the warlike nomadic peoples, there existed another power. Looking back to the past, in 37 BC, the alliance's holy king Gojunwang established the Goguryeo Kingdom. It gradually expanded and reached its maximum territory of 1,030,903 square kilometers in 412 under the reign of King Gwanggaeto the Great. In the north, he suppressed the Khitan and Sushan peoples. In the south, both Silla, Baekje, and Gaya had to submit. These remarkable victories made Goguryeo a symbol of national pride. Not only militarily strong, they also left numerous cultural heritages, including royal tombs, exquisite murals, and many massive fortresses. However, by the 7th century, this kingdom gradually weakened and was defeated by the Silla-Tang alliance in 668. But in the Korean national memory, Goguryeo remains a historical glory, an eternal pride proving that Koreans once stood equal with the greatest empires of the East. An area which was once Goguryeo. While in the 2000s, China unexpectedly declared that Goguryeo was merely a part of its own history, belonging to minority peoples within Chinese territory. They conducted historical exploration projects in Manchuria, Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, and Tibet, simultaneously asserting that any ethnic group or predecessor state occupying part of today's China is considered part of its cultural history. In response to this move, both North and South Korea protested. Particularly, South Korea produced the drama Jumong, about the founder of the Goguryeo Kingdom. Today, North Korea has an area of 120,538 square kilometers and a population of 26,245,000, with GDP reaching a modest $30.5 billion and per capita only 1,160. While South Korea is slightly smaller at 100,363 square kilometers, meaning the country has lost 90.26%. It has a population of 51,750,000, GDP reaching $1,870 billion, and per capita up to 36,135. Monaco. Today, Monaco is known as a tax haven on the Mediterranean coast, but few suspect that the history of this tiny nation is full of ups and downs and territorial disputes. In 1297, the Grimaldi family laid the foundation of rule when they seized the fortress on La Roche Point. Afterwards, the Principality of Monaco gradually expanded and controlled two larger territories, Menton and Roquebrune, with a total area of 25.41 square. But in the early 19th century, a series of upheavals changed the European situation. The democratic movement made the Monaco royal family anxious, seeking to consolidate the monarchy. While the economy was affected, the government decided to raise taxes that would clear injustice. If Monaco's capital, home to a quarter of the population, received favoritism, then in Menton and Roquebrune. Localities with more developed economies due to fruit cultivation and trade received less corresponding. As a result, people here grew increasingly dissatisfied, leading to an 1847 rebellion that caused both to decide to secede and join the Kingdom of Sardinia. Later, this area was transferred to France. Therefore, today Monaco possesses a modest area of 2.03 square kilometers, meaning it lost 92.01% of its territory and is the second smallest in the world, after Vatican City. This is home to 38,631 people, with 2024 GDP reaching $10.13 billion and per capita up to $262,224. Brunei. In the history of maritime Southeast Asia, the Brunei Empire was once a powerful maritime port. In 1521, it held the northern part of Borneo Island, the Sulu Archipelago, part of Palawan Island, and its influence extended as far as Luzon. The total estimated area reached 80,000. At that time, Brunei controlled important trade routes in the South China Sea and built close relations with China as well as other Islamic kingdoms. However, competition from European powers such as Spain, Portugal, and later Britain and the Netherlands narrowed Brunei's sphere of influence. Internal port divisions, coupled with uprisings and conflicts with neighbors, caused the once mighty empire to shrink to just a small area on Borneo Island. By the 19th century, they had lost almost all their territories, and the risk of disappearing completely from the map was evident. Therefore, the country decided to become a British protectorate. In the following period, Brunei experienced a series of upheavals from the discovery of oil, invasion by Japan, to the idea of joining the Malaysian Federation, where it remained part of the United Kingdom until 1984. Today, Brunei has an area of 5,765 square kilometers, meaning it has lost 92.79% of its territory compared to its golden age. With a population of about 450,000 and a 2024 GDP of $15.46 billion, the per capita figure is $34,356. This is the second richest country in Southeast Asia, after Singapore, thanks to its huge natural resources, with 1.1 billion barrels of oil and 260 billion. Under the leadership of Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, one of the world's wealthiest monarchs, Brunei has built the image of a prosperous Islamic kingdom with an enviable social welfare system. Tajikistan. Residing along the Amu Darya River, the Tajik community is now divided by the border between Afghanistan to the south and Tajikistan to the north. In the past, they were not only united but also a powerful force in the region. Specifically, in 1175, from the small region of Bor, the Ghurid Empire developed extremely rapidly. By 1200, they possessed an area of up to 2 million square kilometers, stretching from the Bay of Bengal to the Persian Gulf. Therefore, the army of this empire had diverse components, including Tajiks, Turks, Khwarezmians, and Pashtuns. When invading South Asia, they destroyed Buddhist academic centers such as Nalanda University and the city of Sarnath. Many Hindu structures were looted and then replaced by mosques. Thus, the once glorious Indian civilization now declined severely. Although the Ghurid Empire existed only for a short time, it still played an important, as it created conditions for Islamic forces to easily enter the Indian subcontinent. Currently, there are about 20 million Tajiks worldwide, with 9,639,000 in Afghanistan and 8,763,000 in Tajikistan. Both face many problems, with Afghanistan notable for its persistent instability, causing millions to flee abroad. As for Tajikistan, after gaining independence in 1991, the country plunged into a bloody civil war lasting 5 years, leaving the economy exhausted as is. Despite reconstruction, the country remains among the poorest in the region, heavily dependent on remittances from migrant workers, accounting for up to 45% of GDP. This is the Politically, President Emomali Rahman has held power since 1992, establishing an authoritarian regime that tightly controls political and social life. Today, Tajikistan covers 143,100 square kilometers, meaning it has lost 92.85% of its territory compared to the peak of the Ghurid Empire. With a population of 10,190,000 and a GDP of $13.54 billion, the per capita figure is $1,329, among the lowest. Lithuania. In the past, the Duchy of Lithuania was just a remote, rule-noticed land. But thanks to the brilliant leadership of Mindaugas, the first king crowned in 1253, the country gradually unified and rose to become a great power. After his death, Lithuania declined its status and lost territory, but they soon recovered and grew strongly in the 14th century. Under the reign of wise rulers such as Ananias and Vytautas, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania expanded its territory rapidly. It controlled a vast land with a maximum area of 930,000 square kilometers, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. Nevertheless, the Lithuanians soon encountered formidable opponents, and their territory was significantly reduced. These were the Grand Duchy of Moscow to the east, following Orthodox Christianity, and the Teutonic Livonian Order.
Eventually, Lithuania decided to ally with Poland since both were Catholic, leading to the establishment of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1569.
In this federation, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania maintained distinct political, legal, military, and treasury systems. However, over time, the nobility became strongly Polonized. Polish was widely used in administration, literature, and daily life, while the Lithuanian language was marginalized and remained common only among the peasant class. After a series of upheavals, it was not until 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, that Lithuanians gained an independent state. From an exhausted economy, the country quickly integrated into the West, becoming a member of the EU and NATO in 2004. Thanks to this, Lithuania achieved rapid economic growth, though it still faces hostility from Russia and Belarus. Today, Lithuania has an area of 65,300 square kilometers, meaning it has lost 92.98% compared to its golden age in the 16th century. It is home to about 2,890,000 people, and its 2024 GDP reached $84.85 billion, with a per capita figure of 29,306.
These are the countries that have lost most of their territory. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.